Hello, everyone. Today is December 17th, 2024, and we are going to go through some really fantastic things in regards to bringing about new thoughts for your marketing in 2025. Maybe there's different things that you haven't thought about in a minute that is foundational to marketing, but then also hopefully new ideas that you can implement easier than you ever have would be part of what you'd take away today. And so I'll be sharing my screen. And then, of course, I'd like to make it as interactive as possible. So if at any point you're in here live and you have any questions, feel free to add it into the chat, or you can raise your hand as well. And I'll be kind of popping in and out of the share screen. So that way, if there's anybody who has anything particular, I can definitely address it. Okay, so now let me go ahead and just share my screen. And what you'll notice is, like many people, I love using Canva, and especially in the rawest format of like a presentation, you can kind of see like how things are designed as well. So it's pretty fun. Okay, so we know what we're here for, and then of course, as normal, like I'm here ultimately just to make sure that I'm supporting your goals, that I'm providing actionable ideas, and stretching some of your perspective, and hopefully opening you up to maybe other ongoing solutions as well. And then my ask is to add your thoughts and then participate fully if you can, because my hope is that I'm tailoring it to what you're seeking. So it's not just another general overview of something, that there's something very specific that you can take away from it. So since some of you aren't familiar with my background, I love to share that I taught myself HTML coding right when the internet launched. So right now we're entering a new age, and I've always been very connected to just how business has been run online, and pretty much how it also has earned money for me, and the way that we can definitely all use it for any business. And when I started my business, I actually was still in college. So back in the year 2000. So getting ready to celebrate 25 years coming up here in January. I love what I do. A lot of it is really a housing for my interests. So back in the day, I was doing a lot of web design, photography, even ballroom dancing. So art inspired became a really fun umbrella to put all of that together. And recently I was having a conversation with someone. They go, "Oh, art inspired. Also, if you look at the initials, it's AI." So I was like, "Hey, how about that?" So lately, of course, in my business development arena, AI has definitely been a huge part of that. So I started a lot of business development back in 2010. There's been photographers, other creatives, etc., that were my first clients, and then now, of course, there's a whole series of different types of entrepreneurs that I get to proudly serve. And so my main thing is developing trainings. Also, there's classes. We have retreats, and we actually have a retreat to mastermind coming up in DC. So all of those things that I love to put together. And of course, since pandemic, there's been a lot of these live trainings, and I try to offer as many things as I can for free, just to be a resource for people out there. And if people like what I teach and want and need more hands-on help, then I'm always available for that. So we're talking about 2025 and how there's been like a lot of things that perhaps you've tried out, but me personally, the things that I've been proud of that I've been able to do, especially with the use of new technology, is that I wrote and published a book called Networking for Impact. That's kind of my sole project. I've had other book projects that were collaboration with other people, but this one took me just 10 hours. So I went from concept to finishing to publishing in just 10 hours for the book Networking for Impact. And if anyone wants that book, I will send you a link. And just so you can see like how I have it housed as well, that might be a fun thing to think about for the next year for some of you who have like really good information stored in your head. Also, I discovered Substack. So if you haven't looked into Substack as a potential place to start putting some of your marketing information, definitely check it out. It's free to set up. And I always tell people, if you hear of a free platform that potentially could be making waves, why don't you go ahead and claim your name? So if you, let's say Hillary has something, then I would go ahead and just claim my name on there, Hillary, and then just be like, good, I'm here. And then whatever you want to do with it, do with it later, that's totally fine. Start studying that platform. It's pretty amazing. Also, I've been proud to serve on the board of directors for the York County Chamber of Commerce. So, part of my mission with that is to help entrepreneurs. So, hence, that's why I do these trainings. And I'm also the head of that marketing committee. And of course, running the business incubator that's going on there. Also, I've been producing really neat branded content for visionary clients, and that could range from video production to commercials, but also intellectual property like publishing, etc., has been pretty amazing. And then right now, of course, I'm just excited because business is thriving and increasing because of new things that I've learned in productivity, and I want to give that back to other entrepreneurs or project managers, et cetera, here in the online space. And then, of course, if you're looking to become more profitable, then of course, when you can create in less time and get your marketing pieces out there sooner, then that normally is the best result from that. I'm always interested if you have current challenges. So feel free to add whatever those are. Same with you, Casey. I know that you're trying to get yourself out there. So what are your challenges? Like what are the things that kind of keep you up at night? What is going on with your projects and your business that you definitely could help like improve upon? Let me stop sharing real quick just to welcome new people into the room. But also, if you want to type it into the comments, etc. So welcome aboard, Charles. We just did a brief introduction about what we're covering today, but nice to see you here. Not sure if you've attended any of these previously, but I'd love to find out more about like what you have going on. So feel free to add that in the comments, and always feel free to raise your hand. I try to make this as interactive as possible. So let us know what you do. We also use it as networking. So if there's anything that you'd like to offer the group, and we'll give you a shout out for that. Yeah, so I'll tailor things for you. So nice to see you, and feel free to stay on camera. That way, if you're looking confused, I can go, what's wrong? So I can say, I'm here to help you. Okay, showing up, that's one of my challenges. Okay, well, I'm glad you're showing up today, because part of like what's been huge for me the past several years, so about to celebrate 25 years in business next year, networking has been a game changer left and right. So anytime you're in a new space, just even if you don't always have it all 100% together, as you build relationships, and I'll cover about, some of that today, it's really a big deal in the business world. So nice to see you on here. And then anytime you have a question, comment, or an aha moment, just feel free to put that there. So this is coming back to what Charles just said, right? Next to doing the right thing, the most important thing is to let people know you are doing the right thing. So let that quote sink in. Some John D. Rockefeller, right? So marketing in any year is always about, are you kind of tooting your own horn out there? Because there's not that many people that tend to scour the internet and say, look, I'm going to promote somebody else. It's your job. It's your responsibility to kind of get out there and let people know the good works that you're up to. And as far as essential strategies for anything that you're doing, then you have to know that, especially in my head, I think of marketing as these 4 different tiers. So marketing itself is a big blanket term, but if we can divide it up into say, okay, branding is one portion, and then you have marketing data, which tends to fall into what I call marketing, public relations, and then promotions. So, and then to support all of that, you would want, especially for public relations, is there a reputation management workflow? If you're not yet known, then it's more like bringing your reputation up to the surface would be a good thing to consider. Also, what are the communication techniques that's going to be used by your brand? So a brand is more than a logo. It is the way it is connecting with the public, and then creating that expectation. So if I have a formulated way to communicate, then that would be something that's foundationally solid. And then you can then train an AI to help bring about new options for you. But then also if you have help or you're building a team. And then of course you're regularly assessing not just also your team, but yourself too. Like how well am I doing with some just essential strategies? How well do I know about these essential strategies? Because if you're looking at marketing as a whole, there are things that change constantly, but then there's some foundational things that if you ignore it, then you're really just kind of stabbing in the dark to create a solution, and that's not fun. So let's dive deep a little bit. Like, what is the branding portion? You want to think about like as you project the values of maybe who you are if you're a personal brand. So, what is Charles about? What's Hillary working on? What is Casey like concentrating on? How do we know this? And where do you broadcast that? Are you on social media? Do you have some kind of newsletter? Are you publishing a blog, etc.? These are things that in a constant sense needs to be happening so that you stay on brand. So it's not always is my logo cool? That comes and goes. People aren't always remembering a logo. They will remember a face. They will remember values that someone has put out there. Also, like when it comes to branding, there's certain characteristics. Is this a high level type of access brand? Is it kind of for the everyday person? There's what we call types of personas that a brand can have. And then what kind of content supports that, and also what products align with all of that. And in 2025, regarding branding, I feel like part of the shift is that you need to be found by the AI bots that are also searching. Okay, so we'll cover a little bit of that, but I'm going to put my thumb on that. So of course, then in marketing, in the way I understand it, there's definitely a processes that's being tracked and strategies being tracked. I'm going to add here um, data that's pretty much measured. Okay. Um, and I know that sounds super nerdy, but the thing is, it's like you want to know, is what I'm working on actually moving the needle? Is it something that is starting to result in more income? Because why do it if it's not working? And then part of marketing is balancing your own expectation, because if you say, hey, I'm going to put this out there because I need more revenue in the next month, but then there wasn't enough touch points, then it's not going to go the way you want it. Like, meaning you have to set new expectations so that what your goal is a reflection of what things you have done to put together out there for showing up and for people understanding your offer. And that's through this portion of marketing, right? So a lot of times people have fantastic goals. They say, I want to double my income in the next year, but they don't know how to measure that or to even see what's effective. And sometimes if you don't know that, you could be sold a lot of possible solutions that may never come to pass as new income for you. So my goal is always, like when I'm looking at people's business plans, is really nailing this down and seeing what's missing here and where can you improve your processes in regards to marketing in general. Okay. So all right, so now we have a promotion here, and then this is where we can really then say, based on what I'm offering, here are my sales targets. So all of these things to say that in the new year, if you don't have these foundational portions, so especially public relations where you're creating conversation, connecting with the audience, and sending out like great connection requests for people that you want to network with, then I feel like that could fall short in how you can innovate into the new year. So understanding the foundational points is part of how you make new goals for 2025. And so in part of marketing, especially if I'm looking at my upcoming year, how am I going to work this system out? So what's going to be immediate on my returns and what's going to be a longer game as far as like making an impact in the market? So if you're trying new things, you may not be yet as popular in that segment. And so you got to do some work to make it happen in that arena. Let's say you're trying out new social media tactics and you're not yet fully there. I know right now most of you are connecting with me through LinkedIn. And to be truthful, I haven't really focused on LinkedIn as much as I am now. And it's really only been the past few months. So my connections are not as deep as when I do things on Facebook. And I'm about to combine the efforts bigger in the new year. So part of my strategic tactic is going to have like that part of connection that I'm bringing towards both platforms. Okay, so now we have different things that if we're measuring it, there could be two columns in your business plan and your marketing plan. So you're looking at whether or not that tactic is going to be in existence for the short game or for the long game. And part of my thought is always have a long game playing. There could be things that you can extrude from a long game that becomes like a short thing, where as far as like building your public relations pretty quickly, that can tend to go viral. So it's all of these wonderful things in the form of public relations that you need to kind of always put out there. And then, so just some charts to think about that if you have the talent, but you're not consistent, then it's not going to always hit the right mark. So, um, in the communication technique side, right, here's some great things that you can go ahead and start building upon. So, do you have a concise introduction about who you are, what you're about? Is there anything that you can do to build upon, especially in person, some nonverbal communication? And then for the tech side, the back end side, do you have automated systems that's going to help you out? And so the meat of where I try to build upon people's strategies is working what we call like a marketing tier. Some people call it a funnel. So creating like these spaces for a funnel to happen so that people first are gaining awareness, building relationships with you because they're interested in what you have to offer. And then if there's engagement that is definitely deepening the relationship, then it's easier for most people to start saying yes to what you have to offer. And then creating like local loyal followers so that, you know, you can have that kind of long-term client relationship happening. And of course, if then it evolves to kind of a deeper connection, then you could partner up with some people. So I'm going to be including these slides just for you to study in the replay. So for those who weren't able to tap in live, here's just a handy dandy chart that I use for a lot of presentations when I do them for the chamber, that really kind of gives people that awareness. Oh, okay, this is what I'm working on. And this is what I need to focus on when it comes to these tiers. And if you're looking at 2025, the whole goal would be, can I have these different tiers in my business plan solidly in place? And sometimes if you have a new project, you might have to start again from a certain tier, which is tier 5, in order to now get to a more fluid way of constantly creating new forms of income. So you can kind of measure your own effectiveness based on the fact that, do I have these things in place? And if you're not yet familiar with some of these things, then uh, study the brands that you feel are in your space that are doing things, and see if you can Google places that they show up, and then kind of make note. So research, having that time to research is really important so that you are definitely like creating a whole lot more um, intensively aligned solutions for your own business. Okay. So now part of what I'm seeing in strategies that I myself will be using, but then implementing with my own clients, is of course using AI. And so we've done a couple of different programs already. We've done some trainings. Some of you have been in the previous trainings where we talk about AI and how we can utilize that for productivity. And same goes in marketing. It's all tied in together. I think too, because we have new tools, we can definitely create more unique customer solutions. So personalizing it at a higher level, which before was not as cost effective, but also time consuming. So those things are definitely changing. So if it had been a hang up for you or your business in the past where you say, I can't really keep changing the copy, I can't change the graphics because it would cost too much or take up time, then you're in a great space with using AI because most of these things you can generate quickly with just a few prompts. So, part of what you have to think about is, do you have somebody in your world that can help you with that? Should you outsource some things when it comes to AI solutions for your marketing? Or would you take the time to research and implement it yourself? Which all of those points will be fine as long as you feel aligned with that. Okay, so now we have in here like what you have to do for your operations and especially your marketing operations. We talked about assessing already, but sometimes, like if you're not super clear on how you want things done, part of what I tend to do is ask myself, what goal do I want to get to? And then work the plan backwards. You can even ask AI to help you develop that. So, some of you may be attending my 2 hour prompting workshop happening tomorrow, which is going to be pretty exciting because we're going to deep dive into this marketing stuff to make it even more personalized to you. And then we can kind of say, based on what you're trying to create there, we're going to determine the best use for this AI, where it can start bringing more value to your company, to your projects, because you know exactly what your final outcome should be. And so sometimes like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have time to do any research or comparison stuff. There may be ways to do that through some of your AI prompting as well. And then we just spoke about that, like thinking about who would be in charge, or is there a think tank you can join, or you can maybe consider um, asking some of your teammates to, if they have some extra time, or if they are interested in the AI development, for them to like portion off a little bit of that, just kind of like a nice, cool side project. And I know for my company, we're developing solutions for this. So if there's any questions about that, let me know and we'll see if we can plug you in somehow so that we can give you the right tools and then also assistance so that you're not doing it yourself. But with anything in marketing in general, but also implementing it for AI, the data prep is absolutely necessary. So some of you have a lot of things in your head versus it quantified as a SOP or a booklet or a website, etc., or even a blog. Those things would be great to feed into the prompting. And then also for yourself, when you have to delegate or automate other things, then it's already out there. It already exists, and you're not having to like spend a lot of time making that data um, pretty much clear and concise for the AI. So put on here that, if you're structuring your data, it may involve like cleansing. And that just means that get rid of things that are no longer part of your operation, because that won't be helpful if you're trying to, improve something. There's one of my fantastic team members here, Caitlin, has been cleaning up certain platforms for people to ready them for automation. And what we're finding is that the old, sticky, not efficient things, if they exist still in the platform, it's so hard to build on top of that. So you have to do a lot of cleanup. You have to maybe look at things in an objective way and say, okay, well, someone did their best setting this up, but it's not the most efficient way. So we need to clear that out. And that takes time. And you don't want to clear out the wrong thing because then you're creating more work for yourself. But having that solution in place is the healthiest way to make sure that moving forward, it's all appropriate and efficient. And then sometimes you might not have the budget to play around with a lot of different tools. So that's why I mentioned like the think tank. There's like other uh, development. We have a mastermind that we run. And so that people can share and say, hey, I've been using this AI. I really like it. Here's why. Or, this is why I think it's not working out for my solution, etc. That's good because you're not the one who has to do all the testing. You can rely on your team or your mastermind or your community to really help you with that. And for me personally, like taking things one step at a time is not always like we want to multitask. We want to start doing all these other things and we don't get our head wrapped around it. So if you want to start small and just start building from where you initially are, that's always the best way. Manageable chunks, small projects, etc. Gain that confidence in order to create more at scale later on. And having somebody helping with your progress, part of like the things that I like to do with my clients would be slowing them down to getting them through something that may not be the most fun to do at that moment, but it's the most necessary. And just getting through it so that we can check off that box is such a great thing. And sometimes it's hard when you're doing it yourself because there's all these other thoughts involved. And so if you have somebody outside that can hold you accountable, but then also can help you talk you off the ledge when you're feeling a little bit antsy about it, that's always valuable. And then consultants collaborating with different types of people out there. I love it when I can connect with somebody who is definitely steps ahead of the game. And if they have already figured something out, then you know, ask to see if they would consult you or can they be part of your learning experience at this moment and say, I'm willing to compensate you for showing me the ropes and helping me improve my business, etc. And there's also built-in consultants that already do that. I know for us at Art Inspired, we do that through group programs, but then also one-to-one consulting as well. And either you or your team, somebody has to monitor and constantly evaluate to make sure things are still working the way you intend them to work, especially if it's an automation. You can't just set it and forget it all the time because that's not good if there's some error and and you don't correct it right away. And then also my thought for just different things that you can start using AI for would be, how do I scale up my business? How can I keep refining the way I'm doing things because now I have the assisted plan using AI. And that's going to be pretty exciting for the new year to come. So let's say um, if you're like, okay, well, what AI should I use? I've recommended this before. My thought is that u.com is pretty user friendly. And there's definitely ways for you to portion off your results by selecting a type of AI model that you could use. Or even like if you have an agent that you can go ahead and create. And again, I'll be in depth with that tomorrow so that you can keep the same results churning through. That is different than if you were just to kind of like constantly have to reprompt, if that makes sense. So most of the time you can create shortcuts by creating an agent. And this is, how you can do it as well in u.com. But if you look at these, like sometimes I'll test it. So if you're testing marketing copy and you decide, hey, I'm not sure if I like how that turned out, maybe you need to switch to a different model because certain models are trained in nuanced ways that could give you a better sounding result. And that's part of the time that you would have to invest in learning which ones you like. And then when you use the smart mode in you.com, then it has pretty much a combination of a lot of the different tools. I don't know how in the back end that truly works when you're in smart mode. All I know is that it seems to be a combination of a lot of the models when it produces the results for you from there. Okay, so now let's see here. We are breezing right through and coming up on just this last here that I have prepared is, of course, like there's ongoing solutions all the time. But part of like when we go back into some of like what we just stated, I'm going to go here in the tiers because most of what you look for in the upcoming year would be how do I move people from one tier of just kind of learning about you to intensely utilizing your brand and your services, okay, to tier 3. So everyone starts at tier 5. And in the context of 2025, right? Will relationship building be different? Well, I think there's always distractions that we have to get through. And part of the way we need to show up in consistency, we need to kind of prep what we're going to do. And it's a different game these days because since there are people using AI versus not using AI, then I think in the next year you'll pretty much see how some people are definitely gaining traction because they have that AI game figured out and they can produce the content and flex with what the market is asking for because they know how to just plug it right into their system. But always you're kind of think about how do I grab attention and is it for the right reasons? Now, some people grab attention and then shift it into the right reason. Maybe they grab attention for the wrong reasons and then shift it to the right reasons. I think that that's a little tricky if you don't have a whole team kind of doing that type of PR movement, if that makes sense, like the way people that you have to do the reputation control that we talked about earlier. But just let's not worry about that too much. But in a traditional sense, what is it that you're going to highlight about your business? Start with um, knowing what your customer is going to need into 2025. So, one of the assessments you might want to ask, and you can even use AI to ask it based on me being a marketing specialist. This is a prompt. How can I make sure that 2025 will be um, a growth year for me? What can I do differently? So then, based on that result, what I would do is definitely capture the highlights of it and then ask yourself, am I doing that already? Do I have those things in place? Do I have a newsletter? Am I producing a blog? How does that even work in the year to come with AI? Is it still necessary for me to have those things? I think yes for 2025. I can't begin to imagine 2026, but in 2025, people are going to still grab on to what's familiar and they might see other new things, but it might be produced on the back end by an AI, but the front end should still feel familiar to the client base, to the market. So they go, okay, I understand a newsletter. Let me read it. Or I see your video. Let me watch it. Oh, I hear that you have a podcast. Let me listen to it. Those are still the receptive ways for most of the general public, most of the human beings who are going to be utilizing what you put out there. That's what we're going to be accepting. We're not there yet for like any kind of 3D thing. If you're producing other things, it's still normally going to connect to our senses. So let's not forget that part. But it's mainly what I see changing is on the production end of things. Are you spending more time than you need to, or are you starting to discover these new tools to bring about more of what's working? Then maybe also things that you haven't tried to do because you've been time constrained. Can that now be a part of the marketing game that you have. So, in part of what we've been talking about pretty much for the past couple of months is productivity. So, productivity and marketing are super tied together, and that's going to be important um, in the days to come. So we are here on the 17th of December. One of the things that I like to do is portion off my marketing by quarters and by the month. So if you have a planning tool, whether it's a paper planner or if you're going to use any other type of project management system, I like Notion a lot. Can you go ahead and create those fields for you to uh, start implanting the different thoughts and ideas that you have? Most of the time, if you're working on any kind of marketing strategy, you need at least 60 days out to properly promote it. I'm still in that kind of mode because I've been trying new things this past 2 months that I'm not 60 days out. And Casey will tell you that we're not there yet, that we haven't have everything fully flushed out. So in the beginning stage, you're totally allowed to experiment and to see like how things are working immediately if you have that kind of pull. And if you don't, it's okay because it's not yet fully tested, it's not yet fully drafted out. Those who really win at this game are those who are willing to go through the awkward stage of growth and not give up when it comes to like the first few steps. And then also somebody who can anticipate how to really create so that those touch points happen in between the time that you're trying to promote something and from when you initially told the public about it. And it's not always easy because we're always putting out fires or creating like new steps in other projects, etc. And it's what the hardest thing is really honing down to a more efficient process, but then also a target audience, niching down. I've heard it from many people, and it's a constant assessment in order to make sure that you fully are in the right market, that you enjoy being in that market. Sometimes you're really good at something and you could definitely do it all day long, but you're burnt out from it. So is it time to think of a new space? But if that is what you're looking to do, then you have to be mindful that you may not be as effective in the beginning. And so that long game marketing is there for you. All right. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to show that last screen once again so that if there's anything that you need, um, definitely reach out. And so there's the contact info is here. If you want to join our mastermind, we do have that available. I have a special deal. I'll be emailing everybody about it. But it's a lifetime access deal to our program. And just to kind of get you boosted for the new year, I think it's going to also extend through January, I believe, for that special deal. Hint, hint, that you'll be able to take advantage of. And the goal for that is always that you meet a really amazing community, you're supported, and you're doing things that's going to accelerate your business. So that's it for now. So until next time, I look forward to seeing you at the next workshop. So bye, everybody.